What's going on, and welcome to the next module in Persuasion Hacks Masterclass. And today we're going to talk about the three parts of the brain. And so, have you ever been in one of those situations where someone walks up to you and they maybe startled you, right? Abruptly, they walk up and they just immediately like start yelling, or they start asking you questions, and you're sitting there with that confused look on your face, and you're like, "What the hell are you talking about, man?" Right? And then after you kind of fill them out, then you decide whether you keep talking, whether you respond to them, or whether you walk away, or what your next move is going to be, right? So we've all been in those situations before. And there's three parts of our brain that work in order, right? So they literally work from 1 to 2 to 3. Now it can happen very fast, or sometimes it can take a little bit longer. And so, what are these three parts of the brain? Well, the very first one is what's called the reptilian brain, or the croc brain, right? This is the oldest part of our brain, and this part was developed before we evolved into what we are today. And so this part of our brain really is looking at a couple things. It's looking at fight or flight, right? Is this a threat? If so, if it is a threat, should I fight it or should I run? That's really what this part of the brain is assessing all the time. So when that person walks up to you and whether they touch you or whether they open their mouths and start saying something, or they start yelling, that first little split second of being startled, your croc brain, or your reptilian brain, is deciding, is this person a threat? And if so, do I need to fight or run? And then once this part of the brain is okay, the next part of the brain that pops up is what's called the mammalian brain, right? Or a lot of people call this the monkey mind. And the monkey mind is emotional. It's all over the place. This is where your feelings happen. This is where you're trying to, this is the part of the brain that's trying to decide, should I bang it? Okay, so you pass through the croc brain, right? And it said this is not a threat. And then your monkey mind is like, ooh, can I procreate with this thing, right? And once your monkey mind has assessed the situation, then you have your analytical mind, or it's called the prefrontal cortex. And that's the part of or neocortex, sorry. And that's the part of your brain that thinks, right? And so another way to look at this is your gut, this is your heart, and this is your head, right? We all have these three parts to us, and we all use them in different facets of our life. And so why am I telling you this in a Persuasion Hacks course? Well, the reason I'm telling you this is because you got to understand that when you are trying to persuade someone to do something, their body, brain, being goes through this cycle, right? First, they want to know if you're a threat. What's the easiest way to present yourself as not being a threat? It's simple. Introduce yourself. Tell people who you are, right? Hey, what's going on? My name is AJ. Now that little guard that's up will kind of ease down. Now, if you really want to let it lay low, tell people why you're there and be honest, right? Hey, what's going on? My name is AJ, and I just want to talk to you for a minute. I do this and this, right? And so now, okay, they've assessed whether you're a threat or not. They might say, yes, you're a threat, right? If you walk up and you're like, hey, my name's AJ, and I sell marketing services. Can I talk to you for a few minutes? Maybe that threat wall flies through the roof because they feel you're a threat as a salesperson. And so they'll say, no, I'm good, or whatever. Or maybe they'll be open to it, right? But that's the first part, is introducing yourself. And then the heart, right? The heart, the mammalian brain. So some women are really good at this. Some women are really good at pulling on the heartstrings, right? And making a man, like, holding that thin line between sexuality and playfulness, friendship, right? And so there's a thin line there where, like, the mammalian brain is in control, and you could be talking to people and you could be like teasing them and stuff, but their mammalian brain will be excited at the opportunity, like excited about the adventure, but they don't know if it's really going to happen, or if something's going to go down. And so in order to get the heart in your favor, You want to talk about in terms of feeling. You want to talk in terms of like the senses, right? Man, can you see? Can you feel? Can you imagine? Like all of those things. And then when you get to the head, you actually don't want to talk to the head very often because the head is the part that's all logic, right? It's all logical. And when you're speaking to the head, if your numbers don't make sense, if like the facts, the logic that isn't there, people will not go along with what it is that you're saying, right? And so obviously you want to do things that are right for people, but remember this is a persuasion hacks course, and I want to tell you how to persuade people. And so how can you use this understanding to better persuade people? Well, it's very simple. First and foremost, you have to show people that you're not a threat, right? But you can't you can't be boring. So you show them that you're not a threat, but then when you move to the heart, you cannot be boring. You have to have some intrigue. You have to have something there that makes people think, okay, this person's not a threat, but they could be dangerous, right? And so what does that mean? What does that mean that they're not a threat, but they could be dangerous? Well, when you walk into someone's house and they have a big ass pit bull sitting in the corner, the first thing is you're like, yo, man, does your dog bite? And the person's like, no, no, it doesn't bite. So then they bring it over and you start petting it, and the dog's sitting there and it's licking you and it's just being cool, and it walks away and you're like, all right, cool. Your guard goes down a little bit. So it's not a threat, but it can be damn dangerous, right? And that's why you'll keep paying attention. Even if you love dogs, even if you're not scared of it, you'll still know where that dog's at. You'll still be aware of it when you're in the house, right? So you want to have that same presence when you're around people. You don't want to be a threat, but you want them to understand that you're bringing something to the table. And if they're not listening, if they're not paying attention, they're going to be in trouble, right? You got to have that persona about you. And then you sell to people in the heart, right? There's a saying in marketing and in sales and in everything else that people buy with emotion and back it up with logic. And that's exactly what's being explained here, is that you have to sell a person emotionally by figuring out what their triggers are, what their desires are, what their goals are, and then they will back it up themselves with logic. A very simple explanation of this is I went over to my buddy's house, and I was hanging out with him. This was a while back, and we're sitting there and we're catching up, and he's telling me, yeah, man, I just got this Apple Watch for my birthday. It's super cool, man. I love it. I do this, I do this, I do that, right? And I remember I was sitting there and I was like, man, I really want an Apple Watch now. And I was like, let me see it. What does it do? I started asking him questions. Oh, can you track your steps? Because it track calories, all the things that I was looking to logically justify the purchase with, right? And so the next day I ended up going to the store and getting an Apple Watch. And you're like, okay, I bought it emotionally. I bought it because my friend built the emotion around the excitement of it. But then the logic I used is, oh, I can use it to track my calories. I can use it to set reminders for work. I can use it for notifications, all this kind of stuff. So I justified the purchase with a logical reasoning, but I bought emotionally. And it happens the same with everything. Every person, even the most analytical person in the world, is still buying with emotion and backing it up with logic. They're just very good at rationalizing. That's why they think logically. But this is how we're wired. This is our DNA. And so you want to start thinking about this when you're doing your sales presentation. Don't call people and say, hey, can I talk to you about da 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 da? Because what are they going to do? This guard is automatically going to come up. The reptilian brain is going to say this is a threat, and they're going to either fight or flight. The fight is don't effing call me again, or the flight is no thank you, I'm good, hang up, right? So understand how you can use them in your business, and understand how you can use them to persuade others. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.